Welcome back, everyone, to day 36 of the Chosen Daily Devotional. Today we are doing part 2 of the message titled Set Free. And if you are fully caught up in this series and have watched yesterday's devotional, then you know that today's message is set up like an interview yet again, which means that my gorgeous wife, Brandon, will be gracing us with her presence once again. Now, before we do dive into that, though, let's read today's passage where we will find the story of the woman that Brand will be portraying. And that passage comes from Mark chapter 5, verses 27 through 34, which reads, "And there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and who suffered much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard the reports about Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, 'If I touch even his garments, I will be made well.' And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd, and said, 'Who touched my garments?' And his disciples said to him, 'You see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, Who touched me?' And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, and fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, 'Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease.'" Woman with the issue of blood, your healing transpired under quite different circumstances. Tell us about your encounter with Jesus.
Well, for the record, I go by daughter now. And like the daughter of Abraham, I was afflicted for a long time 12 years to be exact. I had been to numerous doctors and no one could help me. I was desperate.
Desperate enough to risk the crowd?
Yes, I had to. It was the only way I could get to Jesus. I knew there was a good possibility of being recognized and severely punished. After all, being ceremonially unclean is not a casual offense, you know. I'd been banned from all human contact, but I had to try.
And there you are, being pushed around in a throng of people. Tell us about the moment, the touch that has captivated the hearts and imaginations of believers everywhere. You were healed right then?
Yes, immediately. It felt as if his entire being, even his cloak, was saturated with God's miraculous power. The bleeding stopped. I could feel in my body that I was free from my suffering.
I imagine you were hoping to slip back through the crowd undetected, but that's not what happened, is it?
Not at all. Jesus turned around to the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" At first, I froze. I didn't know if he was angry or not, but he kept looking. I realized, though, of course he'll know it's me. He's Jesus. His cloak alone just healed me. So I came forward and fell at his feet.
I'll ask you the same question I asked the daughter of Abraham. Were you fearful?
The circumstances were certainly frightening. I was trembling when I told him the truth, but after a few moments, I wasn't fearful of him. His eyes were full of compassion. He could have kept going on his way, but he stopped to acknowledge me, not rebuke me. He listened and was sympathetic to my suffering. He said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in faith and be freed from your suffering."
And last question, how has your life changed since that day?
Well, obviously, I'm physically healed, but my healing didn't eliminate my need for Jesus. Instead, it connected me to it. He set me free to pursue my life in Him. The very thing Satan tried to destroy me with, Jesus used to restore our relationship and make me whole in every way. I am chosen and set free.
All right, and now it is time to pray over today's devotional. Now, for today's prayer, we're going to be doing things a little bit different. Instead of leading you in prayer like I normally do, today you have a homework assignment. Since the prayer that I'm asking you to pray is very personal and intimate. Today, I'm asking you to take yesterday's prayer, where we brought our vices and things that are keeping us from fully following the Lord and expanding upon it. Take a few minutes, or as long as you need, to sit and reflect, and then fully open up your heart to the Lord. Repent and ask for His strength to free you from all of it. And with that, we will wrap up today's video. As always, I do hope that you found it helpful. If so, I would just ask that you show some love, especially to Brand there by leaving a like and a comment just to help YouTube push this to others. But with that being said, only a couple more days left in this series, and I do look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless and keep you.